Hey there, today on Coaching with Tally, we're talking about the power of acceptance and how to have a life that really does bring you into a place of rest, how to really get some of your energy back, how to have healthier relationships, and so much of it revolves around this one thing. I want to share with you a quote. This is like a culmination of some concept that I heard somewhere along the way, and kind of like my own words to it. But in order to be deeply at rest, you must develop the capacity to experience life as it is, as it currently is, and to accept others as they currently are, uncontaminated by a demand for them to be otherwise. And I think there is so much wisdom in that concept of like whatever it is, being able to come into a place of acceptance, because we spend so much of our energy. I wish we had the ability to kind of monitor it the way that we do like our gas tank on our car or something. If we could see the energy output that we expend trying to control the circumstances and the people around us, I think we would be like, wow, flabbergasted by the amount of energy, the amount of time that we spend trying to control our environment and the people in our lives. Because we want to have this play. There are real needs that we have, and we're trying to get those needs met, and often we do it by trying to control our environment. And really, it's so much simpler, like more responsibility required in some ways, but so much simpler to learn how to control ourselves, to learn how to control our inner interpretations of things, and learn how to set boundaries where we need to set them. So my name is Tally. I'm a life and personal development coach, and I work with leaders to create lives of overflowing impact in the world that are really centered in a place of joy. So I'm all about getting you aligned to who you most truly are, get you looking at your whole life and firing on all cylinders, or look at every important area of life and get clear vision around it, get you creating a life that you love living. So one of the things we're doing right now is a series called Words of Wisdom. So just bringing you quotes, looking at some things to really inspire and motivate. And today talking about the power of acceptance. And we've touched on this in some other places, but when I ran across this in my journal, I was like, this is so key. I feel like this is so significant to talk about, because there are so many things in the world right now that feel out of control. And often we exert so much energy trying to control those things rather than going, okay, this is the way things are, or this is the way this person is. And it ties into a conversation that I had the other night. This year, I'm being really intentional to create time and connection with just really amazing women in my life. So I had a girls' night on Saturday night, and we got into a really, really great conversation. And I forget exactly how it started, but basically, I ended up talking about how whenever I see couples that are really in love with each other, that seem genuinely connected and happy, I make a point to ask them, what is it that has, like, what are the keys that have contributed to you guys creating what it is that you have? One, I love that it honors them and just compliments them, and I love being in this place of learning. When I see something that's working, I want to know what contributed to that so I can learn and grow. And inevitably, almost every single couple, I especially ask older couples, but almost every single one of them says some version of this. In essence, I have learned how to let them be who they are without trying to change them, without trying to control them, without trying to, like, learning to really accept and love them for who they are, and not needing them to be like me, not needing to control who they are and how they are, but just letting them be them. So some version of that I have heard so many times when I've asked that question. So I'm like, okay, that is clearly a key to having a fulfilling relationship, to having joy in your life, to having this place of being at rest. I think it's really, really significant. And so, I want to be implementing that. And I've heard it in other places too, wherever you see places that there is something that's working. Like you hear this concept in 12-step recovery. I mean, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands or millions of people now have had successful shift in their life. And one of the big principles is recovery. In recovery is acceptance. And so coming into this place where you just accept. So I think the Serenity Prayer goes something like, and they use the Serenity Prayer in 12-step. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's so key, I think, to know, like, what do I have control over, what don't I have control over, and how do I have the courage to step into the things I can do something about, which is very often right here, and how do I accept the things that I can't, which is usually outside of ourselves. Often, not that we can't have impact on our environment, because certainly we can, but that come from being, inspiring change in some way versus like trying to control and like force something. I think there's a difference there. So being able to come into acceptance, and I think I mentioned this on Friday. We talked about, there's some version of this that we kind of touched in on, and I don't want this to communicate that setting boundaries is an unhealthy thing. It is, I think, one of the most healthy things you can do in a relationship is to have acceptance and set boundaries. And often, I think they actually go together. They feel like sometimes they're in opposition, but actually I think when somebody tells you, shows you really who they are based on their actions, you believe them, and you set whatever boundaries you need to have in that dynamic or that relationship. So you being really clear about what you need and want, and having boundaries while accepting the other person for who they actually are. Not trying to make them something other than that, but really go, okay, this is who this person is. And sometimes the most loving thing that you can do in that dynamic is to accept them for who they're showing you that they are, and let them be that person, and set whatever boundaries you need to set. Maybe it's less time together, maybe it's no relationship, whatever it is. I don't know, it probably depends on the dynamic of the relationship. Maybe it's leaving a job, whatever that is, but accept them for who they are, not try to change them, and you get clear on what you need to do based on that reality. So I don't think they actually are in opposition to each other. They actually can complement one another. But acceptance. So let me read this one last time. In order to be deeply at rest in your own life, you must develop the capacity to experience life as it currently is and accept others as they currently are, uncontaminated by a demand for them to be otherwise. So I hope that supports you in getting clear about how to love the people in your life, how to accept the situations in your life, how to set the boundaries that you need to set, and how to live just in a place of more control internally rather than externally. Bless you. We'll be back again tomorrow with more words of wisdom.